What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. And this one is my team selection for Game Week 3. So I'm going to take you through how the team is looking, thoughts on transfers, of which I have many, especially if Palmer misses Game Week 3, and why Palmer being out might unlock bench boost in Game Week 5 for me. And I'll show you how I did in Game Week 2. Spoiler alert, not great, but there is reasons to feel better than I did after Game Week 1, which I'll talk through as well. So let's get into it. So Game Week 2, what a week for all the wrong reasons. What's that saying? If you don't laugh, you'll cry. That's how I feel about my FPL team right now. Game Week 1, 46 points. Not a great start, but you're going to get those kind of game weeks over the season. So you just write it off. It's frustrating that it's happened in the first week, but hopefully things will get better. Spoiler alert, they didn't. I followed up 46 points with 43 in Game Week 2 and a red arrow down to 7.5 million. Absolute nightmare start for me. And the weekend overall, apart from Saturday, was just really frustrating. But weirdly, I feel better after Game Week 2 than I did after Game Week 1. And I'll explain why in a second. But in terms of the frustration, I switched captaincy on the deadline stream to Cole Palmer. Chelsea go and score 5 goals against West Ham. He's not in the squad whatsoever. And I get it, right? He might have played and got no points, but he probably would have walked away with something. And losing one of your premium players for a game like that is just not ideal. So Friday wasn't great for me, apart from the fact that Sanchez conceded. Saturday was a little bit better because Pedro Porro got a clean sheet and 5 points. So he came off the bench for Cole Palmer. And also, Spurs getting that clean sheet not only meant points for me, but it also meant that Haaland and Reinders with fairly high ownership had also blanked. And I got my double Burnley clean sheet. So although Watkins and Strand-Larsen blanked on Saturday, overall I felt a little bit better. And I was going into Sunday and Monday with like 6 players, but I basically got no points from them. Salah got an assist, fair enough, vice captain. But Anderson 4-pointed with the defensive contributions. Nico Williams 2, Wirtz 2 against Newcastle. Looked pretty anonymous for that game. Liverpool just pretty awful, really. I know they won, but they were pretty bad considering Newcastle were down to 10 men for so much of that game. Dewsbury Hall 2-pointer. And of course, Bruno Fernandes missed the penalty. And when he stepped up to take it, I thought there's a good chance he's going to score. But once that stuff started happening with the referee and he just didn't seem to refocus, I just had this sinking feeling that he was going to miss. And it's fine margins like that in FPL that can have such a big impact on the points you score. I'm on 43. Fernandes scores that. He's on a 12, 13 pointer. All of a sudden, he looks like a better pick on same points as Haaland. And I've got over 50 points and things feel better. But instead, he missed. So apart from the Salah assist, I basically got nothing apart from defensive contribution from Anderson after Saturday. So I felt okay on Saturday. But then 6 players to come and it was just terrible after that. Why do I feel better after Game Week 2, though? I think in terms of the overreaction from Game Week 1, I didn't get caught up in that. I rolled my transfer, and now if Palmer's out, I'm in a much better position to deal with that. If you think about the players people brought in after Game Week 1, like Haaland scored twice against Wolves. There was this massive panic you had to get him in. He's blanked against Spurs. The new Lionel Messi, a.k.a. Tijani Reinders, you know, if you joined me on that Sunday knee-jerk stream, it was like you had to bring him in at all costs, no matter whether it was for a hit or a free transfer, no matter which player you had to sell, you had to get Reinders in. He blanked as well. And that's not me rewriting history. He was a good pick. He's still really good value. I might get him in this week. But the idea that he had to come in Game Week 2, I just didn't agree with. Semenyo people knee-jerked in. That's a good pick, to be fair. And he did walk away with an assist. But, you know, people were transferring in Sunderland defenders after their 17-pointer. People with João Pedro switched to Chris Wood, and now the opposite's happened in Game Week 2. João Pedro's walked away with 15 points, and Chris Wood has blanked. So, although my week wasn't very good, in terms of how I played it, I feel okay about it, because I'm now walking into Game Week 3 with 2 free transfers. And when I look down the list of players that have scored points so far, there are some good picks on this list, but I don't feel like I've made massive mistakes. Like Calafiori and Timber are the top 2 scoring defenders, and Ballard makes up the top 3. I never considered them for a single second, so I'm not going to beat myself up over not having them. Saliba, fair enough. Arsenal defence is great. That can always happen. Chalobah, fair enough. Not many people looking at him. Cucurella was a good pick. Their midfielder, Semenyo's good. But then you've got like Cullen from Burnley, Brennan Johnson from Spurs. If they sign another winger, his minutes might go right down. Ndoye from Forest, Anthony from Burnley, Tavernier from Bournemouth. These are not players that I think I'm going to be particularly worried about long term. Gakpo is third on the list, fair enough. Maybe I've made a mistake with Wirtz. But there's a world where Wirtz gets a couple of points in the first two and Gakpo doesn't. Like the assist for the first goal for Gravenberch's goal against Newcastle, that's just like a meter pass from Gakpo. And I'm not saying he shouldn't get that. That's how FPL works. But, you know, you don't continue to get those assists. And I look at like the forwards as well. Like Ekitike, fair enough. I got the minutes wrong there. João Pedro, really good against West Ham. Let's see if he does well in game week 3. People were panicking about him after one game week. And Richarlison's the third highest scorer. So I don't look at that and think I made loads of massive mistakes. I know people will look at my team and say it's terrible. I've had messages saying I've not got one good player in my team and stuff. I just think that's absolute nonsense. It's just I've had a couple of bad game weeks. But in terms of how I played it after game week 1, despite scoring fewer points, I actually feel better going into game week 3. So let's talk about it. So I've got 2 free transfers this week and nothing in the bank. In fact, my squad value has dropped to 99.9 million. That's because Wirtz went down from 8.5 to 8.4 million and none of my players have gone up in price yet. But I'm not going to panic about that for now. Defensively, I think things look pretty good. So I've got Sanchez in goal for Chelsea against Fulham at home. Good chance of a clean sheet there. Agbadou against Everton at home. I don't really trust the Wolves defence, but on paper it's not a bad fixture, and he's pretty good for defensive contributions as well. He finished in game week 2 on a 4-pointer. I think Everton have made some good signings, Dewsbury Hall, Dibbling, Grealish, etc. So they might be a bit more attacking this season, but it's still a pretty good fixture on paper. So Agbadou, no issues with him. Pedro Porro, I think, looks good. Spurs defence should be a bit better this season under Frank. Bournemouth at home, not easy. We know Bournemouth attack is decent, but he's got attacking potential in his locker as well. So there's not really a massive need to move him on. And I think if I was going to go to someone like Munoz, I've missed the boat on doing that. If I was going to buy him, it was last week. So instead now the window to buy him is game week 4 before Sunderland at home. So Porro definitely stays. And Nico Williams, annoyingly, Forest don't have a clean sheet yet. But if they're going to pick up their first one of the season, it's probably against West Ham at home. That just looks like such a good fixture right now. And I wouldn't put it past Fulkrug or Bowen scoring in this game. But obviously, Nico Williams is not bad enough to transfer out. So I'm just going to play that back 3. And then on the bench, Dubravka against Man United away, Anderson against Chelsea away, and Esteve against Man United as well. So defensively, really easy benching decisions this week and no transfers needed. So with my midfield, there's a lot more to talk about. Wirtz hasn't started the season well. It's Arsenal at home this week. He's already dropped in price once. If he blanks again, he'll probably drop in price over the international break. Cole Palmer's yellow flagged. Might miss game week 3. If he does, do I sell him, keep him? If I sell him, who for? I'll come on to all that in a second. Let me get the easy players out of the way first. Salah's staying. There's no obviously need to use a transfer on him. He's my vice captain for Arsenal at home. And in game week 4 against Burnley away and game week 5 against Everton at home, he'll be my captain for those weeks. So he stays. Dewsbury Hall is just an enabler in my team. If I have to play him, so be it. I've said before, I wish that was Reinders instead, but it's not a massive deal. If I've got to play Dewsbury Hall against Wolves away, I'm okay with that. And if I do end up selling Palmer, which I will come on to in a second, then Dewsbury Hall will probably become my 8th attacker. So having a 5 million midfielder on the bench or having to play with pretty good fixtures at the moment, it's not a huge issue that I see. Bruno Fernandes, there is no way I will sell him this week. No matter how the first 2 game weeks have gone, it's Burnley at home. That would be crazy to do. At the moment, he's my captain. That was always the intention when I built this team in game week 1. So you remember last week, I spoke about my intention was to play Dubravka and Esteve double up. I don't like changing my mind on things I've decided, previously, unless there's something that should massively change my mind. And Man United did lose to Grimsby last night in the Cup, which is not great, but it's still Burnley at home on paper. It's a great fixture. And if I'm going to go against Salah in my team, this is the week to do it. So I'm pretty confident Fernandes will be my captain by the time we get to the deadline. Is it going to go well? A £9 million player playing in central midfield as captain? Maybe not, but I think I've got to see it through. With Wirtz, if Palmer's out, there's no justification for selling Wirtz instead, I don't think. And part of the reason I think that is because in game week 4 it's Burnley away and then 5 is Everton at home. So it's not like he has terrible fixtures to come. If it was Arsenal at home this week, followed up by Man City away, Chelsea at home, then I'd probably sell him. In fact, I probably wouldn't have started the season with him, to be honest. But he's got good fixtures to come. So I don't think I can justify selling him if Palmer's out. If Palmer's fit, then maybe there is a case to be made to sell Wirtz. But I still think I would rather value holding the transfer. So if Palmer's fit, I'd rather roll and go into game week 4 after the international break, after the transfer window shuts, with 3 free transfers. And I'm not going to get to game week 4 with Burnley away for Liverpool and be frustrated that I've kept Wirtz. So if I sell him this week to like Kudus against Bournemouth at home, or Semenyo against Spurs away, or Sarr against Aston Villa away, are those players capable of outscoring Wirtz this week? Probably yes, but there is a chance Wirtz gets something, and then he's got good fixtures afterwards. So if Palmer's out, there is no way I will sell Wirtz. If Palmer's fit, I'll think about it, but I suspect I will roll the transfer instead. With Cole Palmer, I'm at a place right now where if he's missing game week 3, even if he's back for game week 4, I'm probably going to sell him. I'm just going to use this opportunity to use my 2 free transfers, spread the money around, relegate Dewsbury Hall to an 8th attacker instead, and just have a better overall squad. I've thought about this quite a lot. I could just play Joachim Andersen instead, but that just feels so passive. And I get the point that people will make that information after the international break is going to be really key. I get that. I wish I had 2 or 3 transfers after the break. But if Palmer's out, that is so much of my budget not being used. And I've got those 2 free transfers. I didn't knee-jerk after game week 1. So I'm probably going to sell him. Let's get into who for, right? And there's a lot to go through here. So I've got 2 choices. I either sell Palmer in 1 move and just play Dewsbury Hall against Wolves away and have 2 free transfers in game week 4, or I use both of my moves and upgrade Guiu to a better forward. I'm pretty confident I will use 2 free transfers. So option 1, the 1 move strategy, is just Palmer to Cunha and get another Man United player in against Burnley at home. But I'll be honest, as much as that gives me an extra transfer in game week 4, I just don't think I can bring in another Man United player. I'm almost broken with Fernandes as it is. I just cannot add another one. I think we will beat Burnley, but there's just too much going on there that's just bad. So I don't think I will do that. I could just do Palmer to like Sarr and roll the other transfer. But I think if I'm going to get money in the bank, I want to use it straight away. So option 1 is just to go straight to Cunha, have 2 attackers against Burnley at home. I don't see me doing it, to be honest with you. Option 2 is Palmer to a 7.5 million or less midfielder, and then Guiu, who's obviously third bench most weeks, to a 7.5 million-ish forward. So someone like João Pedro, Mateta, Chris Wood. João Pedro and Chris Wood have gone up in price. So if I want to get them, the midfielder has to be Semenyo or lower, basically. It would give me better squad depth because Dewsbury Hall would become an 8th attacker. I wouldn't have to play him every week. And it also helps my bench boost options as well, which I'll talk about later. Maybe game week 5 is when I could use it. Option 3 is to do Palmer to a 6 million or less midfielder and then do Guiu straight up to Gyökeres or Ekitike. Now, Gyökeres long term I think is a really good pick, but it does feel bad buying him before Liverpool away. That basically feels like making a transfer now that I really don't want to make until 7 or 8. But it is a possibility. I just bypass Wood, João Pedro and Mateta and go straight to the player that most people are going to want from game week 7 and just have a Gyökeres and Watkins, front line along with Strand Larsen. So that's something that I could do. The thing that's playing on my mind with option 3 is I've got Watkins sat there. So after Watkins finishes his good fixtures in game week 7, that's just a straight swap to Gyökeres. So I'm not convinced I'll do option 3. I think right now, option 2 is the most likely, but 3 is in the back of my mind. In terms of the players that I will go for, I do like Semenyo, but that would only leave me 0.3 million for future upgrades. So my preferred option right now is Sarr at Crystal Palace, 6.5 million. It would also, if I sell Palmer and get Crystal Palace players, it would pretty much lock me in to free hit 6 because Crystal Palace play Liverpool that week. So I can bring in Sarr for Aston Villa away this week, Sunderland at home next week. And in game week 6, when they got their worst fixture of the next kind of 6 to 7, I can free hit them out. Also, that would give me money to get Munoz for Nico Williams in game week 4. So game week 4, Nico Williams plays Arsenal. I can get Munoz, who plays against Sunderland instead. And although Nico Williams has got good fixtures in 5 and 6, if I'm free hitting, I can just pick him back up for game week 6 anyway. So the only fixture I'd really be missing is Burnley away in game week 5. And ultimately, I'd just rather have Munoz in game week 4. He's just much more attacking. So that's what I quite like about that option to get Sarr, is it also gives me about $1 million in the bank to make a defender upgrade as well. I could also just go Tielemans or Reinders and save more money. But right now, I'm favouring getting Sarr and then getting Mateta over Wood and João Pedro. Now, Chris Wood and João Pedro are the 2 most popular picks. If Palmer was out for a long time, then I probably would prefer João Pedro, but it doesn't seem that that's likely. So I'm probably going to ignore him. Chris Wood's great this week because it's West Ham at home, but then it's Arsenal away in 4. Whereas for Mateta, it's Villa away this week, then Sunderland at home. So the next 2 are better for Palace. And again, if I'm going to lock myself into free hit 6, which I think I will if I sell Palmer, I can get Chris Wood for that Sunderland at home fixture. And I get rid of Mateta for Liverpool at home. So I think it just makes more sense for my team to pick up Mateta. So if you look at game week 6, like I said, Liverpool at home, I can get rid of him and I can just get Chris Wood. And after Sunderland at home in game week 6, Forest fixtures aren't very good. So I don't have him for Arsenal away. I can get him for the Sunderland fixture, and then I just don't have him afterwards. I think Mateta's a better longer term pick. So that's why I'm looking at him. Or the other option to get Gyökeres is Palmer to a 6 million or less midfielder. That would be Tielemans or Reinders, probably Reinders. Gets Gyökeres in nice and early, but it just doesn't feel great against Liverpool away. And like I said, I've already got Watkins in place. One other thing that's on my mind, and I know this section's going on for quite a while, is captaincy. If I sell Palmer, I'm only leaving myself with Salah most weeks, but that doesn't feel like a massive problem because Salah is never injured. So game week 4, I would captain him against Burnley away. Game week 5, Palmer's Man United away, Haaland's Arsenal away, Salah's Everton at home. So I think 4 and 5, Salah's the best pick anyway. Game week 6, Haaland is the best pick. And you could even argue that Palmer's maybe slightly better than Salah, but I'm probably going to free hit if I sell Palmer that week to get Haaland in. So that's covered. Game week 7, Haaland of the 3, between him, Salah and Palmer, is probably the best option against Brentford away. Salah's got Chelsea away, Palmer's got Liverpool at home. If I really wanted to put myself through it, Bruno Fernandes has got Sunderland at home that week. So I could go for him again if there's any kind of better performances from United before then. Or, of course, Ollie Watkins has got Burnley at home. So I would prefer in game week 7 to captain Haaland, but it's not a deal breaker if I don't have Palmer and I don't want to go for Salah because I've got Fernandes and Watkins as options. And then game week 8, Salah's got Man United at home. That's probably just as good as Haaland having Everton at home, and Palmer's got Forest away. So basically what I'm trying to say here is if I sell Palmer, I still think he's a really good pick, but there's no weeks where I'm going to have a problem not captaining him or having him as a captain option is what I'm trying to say until game week 9 when he's got Sunderland at home. But by that point, hopefully I'll have a few spare transfers and I've still got quite a few expensive players in my team like Bruno, maybe even Wirtz carries through the whole way, Ollie Watkins. I've got places to get money from to buy Palmer back. So I just don't see Palmer as a huge issue until game week 9. And every other week I can captain Salah, apart from game week 7, where I've got Watkins and Fernandes, or game week 6, where I'm probably going to free hit. So going back to the team, I don't really want to lose Palmer. If he's fit, I will probably roll. But if he's not, I think I'm going to sell. Even if he's back in game week 4, he's going to go. And I think it will be to Sarr, and I will use that money to upgrade Guiu to Mateta, and I will bench Dewsbury Hall. I hope that makes sense. But I've thought about this quite a lot, so I wanted to go through all my thoughts. And then up front, I've got Ollie Watkins against Crystal Palace at home. Jurgen Strand-Larsen currently playing for Wolves against Everton at home, but we know Newcastle are trying to buy him, so I'll talk about that in a second. And then Mark Guiu is sat third on my bench. Did start in the Carabao Cup midweek for Sunderland and scored, and got minutes off the bench in game week 2. So that's potentially promising moving forward. But until we see proper starts from him in the Premier League, he's just going to remain third on the bench. If I sell Palmer, I'll probably upgrade him. But if not, I'm happy for him to be third bench most weeks. Not a massive problem in my eyes. Watkins, people are frustrated with. He's blanked the first 2 game weeks. Basically, like all my attackers that aren't called Salah. But I bought him in because of the fixtures, so I'm going to see those fixtures out. My current plan is to wildcard around game weeks 12, 13. Watkins will probably be in my team for the first 7 weeks because the fixtures are so good. And I'll look to sell him game week 8 onwards. So no problems with him. Strand-Larsen's an interesting one. If he stays at Wolves, I think he's a really good value player for 6.5 or below. I don't think right now as it stands, there's too many better options at that price point and below. If he moves to Newcastle, he potentially becomes even better value if he's first choice. I am not as convinced as everyone else that if he moves, he'll be first choice, because either Isak's staying, in which case Strand-Larsen's a backup, or if Isak goes, I think Newcastle will buy 2 forwards. I don't think Eddie Howe will trust Strand-Larsen first choice, Osula backup. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think he wants Osula as his third forward. And I can just see Newcastle making a couple of panic buys. If you get over 100 million for Isak, You buy Strand Larsen for 60-65, you go spend the rest of the money on another forward. Now, it might be the other forward comes in and is the backup and Strand Larsen's first choice, but it's not a guarantee. So I would look at it right now. Worst case scenario for me, for my team, is Strand Larsen gets sold late on Friday, let's say, to Newcastle. So he doesn't play for Wolves, but he also doesn't play for Newcastle either. That wouldn't be great because then Joachim Andersen's coming off the bench for me. But I'm willing to risk it because if he stays at Wolves, I like him. And if he goes to Newcastle and he's first choice, I also really like him. If he gets sold on Thursday, by the way, I think there is a chance he goes straight into the team. He's had a pre-season. He started the first 2 matches for Wolves. He scored a couple of goals midweek in the Carabao Cup. The fitness is there. And I don't think Eddie Howe trusts Osula. So if he goes early enough, against Leeds, we could see Barnes, Strand Larsen and Elanga. I'm not completely ruling it out. Either way, I just can't sell him. This is another reason to have 2 or 3 transfers after the break, just for all this information from the transfer market and obviously international break injuries and stuff like that. But I just think if Palmer's out, I've got to sell him and I've just got to hope for the best with Strand Larsen. Like I said, worst case is he doesn't play this weekend, Joachim Andersen off the bench, and then I go into game week 4 and he's not first choice and I don't know if he's going to start. But in that case, I've got the money from buying Saar to upgrade Strand Larsen to like an Evan Nilsson, who I think is a good pick. I'm not massively worried about, but there's an option there to move Strand Larsen on. Also, by the way, just to get all these thoughts out, if I go for Saar and Mateta, that leaves me $1 million in the bank. I could just ignore Munoz, and all of a sudden I could do Strand Larsen up to someone a bit more expensive, maybe make a second move and get to Chris Wood, João Pedro, or someone like that. So I still feel like I've got options. Ultimately, with Strand Larsen, I've got to keep him. There is value there, but there is a worst case scenario for my team where it just doesn't go right. But hopefully, he goes to Newcastle when he's first choice and plays Leeds this weekend, because that would be a nice stroke of luck. So that's my thoughts on transfers and stuff like that. I just want to show you how those moves for Cole Palmer would play out over the next few weeks. So this is the team I've just spoken about in the My Team tour over on Fantasy Football Hub. If you're going to sell a player like Cole Palmer, you better make sure your team looks good over the next few weeks. So using a tool like this is super handy, and there's 50% off at the moment if you want to check it out. Link in the description below, or scan the QR code on screen. If I just quickly check my AI suggested transfers, I'm pretty confident, yeah. It still wants me to do Mark Guiu up to Mateta. I really like that upgrade. To fund it, it wants me to do Palmer to Semenyo. And I do like Semenyo at 7.2, but it only leaves me 0.3 million in the bank. And I just think for future upgrades, I want a bit more than that. That's why I'm currently favouring Saar over Semenyo. And also, I haven't told the tool that I'm probably going to free hit in game week 6, so that might change the recommendations. It is interesting, though, that it's recommending Mateta over Wood and João Pedro, because I think most people prefer the other two, but I like Mateta, especially if you're free hitting game week 6. So I'm going to go back to the original team. I'm going to put it on 1 game week only, and I'm going to sell Palmer, and I'm going to put Saar in instead, and then I'm going to sell Mark Guiu, and I'm going to put in Mateta. So for game week 3 specifically, if I make those moves, I would then obviously bench Dewsbury Hall. So the squad looks better overall. I've still got Verts, but look, it is what it is. Game week 4, I would then probably sell Nico Williams to Munoz because he's got really nice fixtures and obviously he's much better for game week 4, and I don't need Nico Williams for game week 6 because I'm going to free hit. So I'm just going to make that transfer, save it and optimize it again. All of a sudden then for game week 4, it's Sanchez Brentford away, Porro West Ham away, Anderson Leeds at home, Munoz Sunderland at home. My midfield is Salah and Verts Burnley away. That's what I'm saying. If I don't sell Verts this week, I'm not going to get to game week 4 and be worried about him. Saar Sunderland at home, Fernandes City away. Dewsbury Hall they've put in for Aston Villa at home, but I would play Strand Larsen probably. And then Mateta's also Sunderland at home, so triple Palace against Sunderland, and then Watkins against Everton away. That looks pretty good. Game week 5, I would consider probably using my bench boost that week, because my bench would probably be something like Sanchez against Man United away, Porro against Brighton away, Dewsbury Hall against Liverpool away, which is not great, but I don't think I'm going to get a better bench over the next few weeks. And then Esteve against Forest at home. And I kind of want to use my bench boost before I wildcard. And I think this will be my best opportunity. I'm not going to go through every single week in full, but basically, if I optimize the team each week and you look at the bench, there's no game week where it's better than game week 5, I would say. Like game week 7, for example, you've got like Esteve and Dubravka against Villa away. Game week 8 is probably where it looks best. But again, Dewsbury Hall still playing Man City away. Joachim Andersen's got Arsenal at home. So it's not better than game week. Sorry, it's not miles better than game week 5. So I think game week 5, if I sell Palmer, I'm going to bench boost, and I'm going to free hit in game week 6. And then from game week 7 onwards, I'll just worry about it then. So although it's not perfect, I'm having to carry Wirtz and Fernandes through for quite a while. There is one reason I like that. With my squad structure, I don't have much money in defence. And I'm not particularly worried about that until game week 7, where I might want to go and get like Gabriel from Arsenal. But because I've got Munoz and Porra and money in the bank, I've got the opportunity to do that. And also, if I want to get like Yorkeresh in, straight swap from Watkins in game week 8. And if I want to get Palmer back, I've got Wirtz and Fernandes. So Fernandes up to Palmer, 1.5 million needed. That's Wirtz down to, I don't know, like a 6.5 million midfielder or something like that. So I just feel like Palmer out just gives me so many options later on. This obviously relies on nothing going badly, no injuries and stuff like that. But you can't constantly worry about that. So I just think game week 3 and 4 look much better. Game week 5 gives me the opportunity to bench boost. Like Fernandes against Chelsea at home, Wirtz against Everton at home is fine. Game week 6 I would free hit, and then game week 7 I'd have 2 free transfers to start messing about. But even in game week 7, the team looks okay. Munoz against Everton away, Porro against Leeds away, Agbadu against Brighton at home. Fernandes, if I've kept him that long, has got Sunderland at home. Like Watkins, Burnley at home. Like it looks fine. So I'm pretty keen on selling Palmer. In fact, I've thought about this so much that if Maresca says Palmer's fit for game week 3, having to roll will feel pretty bad. But that is probably what I'll do. Anyway, that's my plans. If you want to check out that tool on Fantasy Football Hub and all the other tools they've got, link in the description below, or scan that QR code on screen. 50% off at the moment, and if you sign up and don't win your mini league, you will get your money back. Terms and conditions apply. All the links you need, description below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that and all my thoughts on transfers, etc., make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you tomorrow for final thoughts.